and you were telling us about your lead studies.
Right. Yes. So as I was saying about these investigations that I've been carrying out along with my graduate students, we have been working on lead sensors. We have been working on them for quite some time, from about 2017 thereabout. And I was telling you about the relevance of these sensors, right? Of course, their development provide significant scientific challenge and adventure, which is, you know, the high level stuff that scientists like. It's quite fascinating and all that. But in terms of the relevance to the regular man, because scientists tend to do a lot of stuff that it's more self. A lot of it is self amusement, self challenge. But um, the lead sensors are really useful. For example, lead is a neurotoxin,
Mm-hmm.
right? One of the interesting things about lead, and we have lots of scientific studies, scientific articles that prove these things. Lead is able to cross the blood-brain barrier. So lead can actually get into your brain quite easily, no difficulty with that. Another thing with lead is able to mimic the behavior of calcium, and calcium is responsible for energy release, right, in your cells. And lead is able to mimic calcium, so it behave exactly like calcium and prevent the release of energy and stuff like that. So lead is quite dangerous, to put it simply. Another thing with lead is that it is able to basically damage your nerve by preventing the transmission of neural signals. Right? And we have the technical aspect of it where we talk about the pre-synaptic nerve endings and how lead is able to block these neurotransmitters. Right? But the thing is with lead is that it's environmentally persistent,
Yeah.
meaning that it can stay in the environment for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It can stay in water for a long time, and it can stay in the air for a long time. For example, there was a study coming out of the UK. I think it was in the Guardian. I have the reference, which showed that the dust particles in the US, not in the US, in the UK, contain a significant amount of lead, which originates from leaded gasoline. And leaded gasoline has been banned from about 1999. But still, lead from these fuels remain in the air
Mm-hmm.
today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? About 30 something to 40 something percent of lead in these dust particles came from leaded gasoline. So that speaks to the environmental persistence.
Yeah.
Meaning that if somehow 20 years ago you dispose of a battery, a car battery, lead acid battery, in an improper manner, then and the lead in that battery find its way into the water table or into fish or something like that, it could stay there for many years. So it's not a problem that you're going to solve like that. Or we have some lead that got into the water table, we can just go clean it up and that's it. No, it will take some time, because it's very persistent. Look at, for example, the Flint water crisis in Michigan, in the US, where over 100,000 residents were affected by lead in their drinking water from
Mm-hmm.
these old pipes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not a problem that you're going to fix in 50 years, because the thing is with lead, it is able to accumulate in the body. They say it is able to bioaccumulate.
Mm-hmm.
It gets into the body and it is stored in the bone marrow.
Yeah.
And now and again it comes out and it's circulating, in the blood. It becomes mobile as a
Mm-hmm.
result of your circulatory system. And damage your organs, damage your brain, damage your liver, your kidneys, your heart, stuff like that. And if you're a female, it will poison the fetus. It will end up getting into the body of the fetus, right? Because it is able to cross over from your body into the bloodstream of the fetus.
Mm-hmm. Lean to
And
miscarriage.
could lead to miscarriages. It could also um,
Developmental problems in.
it will cause definitely it will cause significant developmental problems in the child mentally and where the child's intellectual capacity is concerned. Things like the child's ability to read, to count, to do any form of numerical manipulation. That we have lots of scientific studies to prove it. So it's not just we're not just talking some things. We have many scientific papers to prove this, with blood test results and all that sort of stuff, right? Deep scientific studies
Yeah.
to prove all of this. So the lead sensors are very important, and not just, as I said, for scientific challenge, but to the regular man, because we're talking about a very dangerous environmental pollutant. It's a pollutant so dangerous that the Centers for Disease Control, right, in the US, CDC, right, they have a goal of having a 0 milligram, um, 0 milligram per liter lead exposure level for humans, meaning that they don't want it to be exposed to lead any at all. That's a goal because they know that it is that dangerous.
Okay, so for those who are just joining, he's speaking about his lead sensor. He identified a problem, which is the lead poisoning. That's what you call it. And they came up with a solution, which is a lead sensor. How did you come up with lead sensors?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm always working on sensors. That's one area that I'm fascinated with because one, it provides significant scientific challenge, and also it allows me to do work that is impactful, where the wider society and the wider world is concerned. Alright, so I'm always working on sensors, and generally I look for a problem. That's what scientists do. They solve problems. They're problem solvers. I see that, look, lead is a problem, it remains a problem, and it probably will always be an issue. And it will be a long-term issue, especially if we don't start from now to develop systems that will allow us to prevent lead entering the human food chain. So we have to start from now. Things like how we deal with batteries, how we dispose of these lead acid batteries. Lead acid batteries are very popular by most of our cars use lead acid batteries, our cars, our motorcycles, our trucks, our vehicles in general. It is really lead acid batteries that they use. Now, in our country, Jamaica, what systems do we have in place to deal with the disposal of these batteries? What do we do? Where are the regulations that say, look, if you have a car battery, take it to this place when you are done with it? How do we dispose of these batteries? I can tell you for sure that in terms of what do you call it now? A solid waste management. Look at our waste disposal. Right? It needs some work. I don't want to bash the solid waste management authority too much, but I want to motivate them. I want to say, look, we need to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Right? We need some proper sorting.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if it's a case where they don't have the budget, but we need the budget because if you don't manage your waste, then your waste end up entering your food chain. They end up consuming back your waste, and that will cause diseases.
Yeah.
So that is important. So this is just encouragement to tell them that, look, we need to put some stuff in place. Where are the regulations for controlling the disposal of these batteries? I don't know of any regulations where that is concerned. So more than likely, people just probably throw it in the garbage, it end up at river, and the lead, animals could end up consuming some of the lead. It could end up in the soil, where it could end up then in the water table, and we need water to drink. So it end up right back on your plate. So that is a significant problem, and I think that if I could bring some awareness to that, I think I would be doing something useful.
How do the sensors work?
Well, they are electrochemical sensors firstly. So how it operates is that we have an electrical probe, which is almost like the size of a pen,
Yeah.
and it has a material which we use to coat that pen or probe. This material is selective for lead, so we call it an ion selective membrane, meaning that it will only interact with lead. When it interacts with lead, it generates an electrical current. And based on the size of the electrical current, you can quantify the lead. And say, okay, we have this amount of lead present. Because it is selective for lead, if there is no lead, the current is zero. You don't have any current, so you have no lead. There might be other metal ions, but it is selective for lead. So we call these ion selective electrodes. Now the good thing about these electrodes, and I intend to do some more work with these for medical diagnostics. Right? One, it's fast, it's relatively cheap, alright? And seeing that we have invested and will continue to invest our scientific time into the development of these systems, we now know how to modify them relatively easily and in a cheap manner for diagnostic processes, especially in medicine. So for hormone detection and stuff like that, for even drug detection.
Yeah.
Right? So one, they are fast, relatively cheap to manufacture and easy to use. So you don't have to be a chemist. When I hand it to you, you don't have to be a chemist. And I
Yeah.
guess it can be something as small as a pen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's an electrochemical sensor. It's based on electronics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
And
that's basically how they work.
So
okay.
is it reusable?
Yes, it's reusable.
Okay.
It's reusable. And it does not it will not contribute to the problem. Because sometimes we develop some technology to
Yeah.
solve a certain problem,
Yeah.
and the technology itself is making a contribution to the problem. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's I guess you could say it's green.
Okay. Tell us about your other sensors. You say you have one for sugar.
Oh, okay. So there is another one that I was working on jointly with Georgia Crawford. Alright. She actually came to me with the idea. And well, actually she had been talking to me about this idea for some time, even before I went to Israel. I suppose she had this idea that, if you could create something that could detect extra sugar in the urine and whatever. But I was in a rush to head to Israel and all that, so we didn't get to flesh that out. And recently she came back to me, same idea again. And I went and I did some work on it with Shannon DaCosta, who is a scientist that she placed under my supervision. And we were able to develop a sensor. It's a colorimetric sensor. Colorimetric just means that it's something that changes color based on the presence of a certain analyte. The analyte would be the glucose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, based on your blood sugar level, it gives you a color change. Not blood sugar level, sorry, your urine sugar level, right? It will give you a color change. So what we have been trying to do, and I believe we have been successful to a good extent because we have generated international attention from because they see that look, this thing works, right? Is to incorporate it in wipes. And so this is like simple technology, something that you can have in your bathroom. It's not very expensive. It won't cost you millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that will allow you to monitor your health at home, right? As an early warning. So what it does is that it changes color once your urine comes in contact with it and your urine has a glucose level which is above a certain threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what that one is about. And as I say, I'm working on some others for the detection of items. There are a few things that I would love to target.
Yeah.
Things like cervical cancer
Yeah.
for women. Of course, I've been trying to develop the concept. I probably have to use something like vaginal discharge, right? To see if there's some inconsistency, there's something that can give us information about what is going on with the cervix. Because we have a lot of women, dying from cervical cancer, wound cancer, and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Breast cancer is also another one that I'm very interested in working on, and also prostate cancer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of course, all of these are tough problems to solve,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why we're scientists.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're supposed to do, right? So these are some of the things that I'm trying to wrap my head around right now. Of course, I'm in the process of developing the concepts and then to get to the chemicals.
Yeah.
To get the chemicals in. Of course, I would be hypocritical if I didn't mention that it's quite difficult to get chemicals to really, conduct these types of research. Getting the chemicals into Jamaica is a very difficult thing, But we get import permits. The import permits take a long time. 8 weeks minimum, and sometimes more. Alright, just to get the permits. And you have to ship the thing,
Mm-hmm.
You get import permit, now you need to tell the people to ship it off. Because if you tell the company to ship this thing,
Mm-hmm.
it will come to the